Hello YouTube. Today I'm going to be making another astrology related video in the moon sign series. Today it's going to be Moon in Sagittarius. Now, Moon in Sagittarius is perhaps a very different placement from Moon in Scorpio, which is the last video I did. A lot of the time, Moon in Sagittarius people tend to be very optimistic. They always want to try to look at the bright side of things. This is very different from Scorpio Moon since they tend to be very probing into the negative side. Sagittarius Moon is a very positive placement. They always want to be positive about their feelings. They don't like simmering down in the negative side of things, as they would like to call it. They're the kind of people who, as I said, tend to be optimistic, always want to look at the bright side, don't like dealing with people who are down in the dumps, always want to be happy and stuff. So it's generally how they look at their emotions, but in this way, sometimes they can be seen as shallow compared to other people, because they're always trying to look at the bright side of things, and their optimistic, free-spirited nature can get misrepresented this way. Moon and Sagittarius people are the type of people that will always try to cheer you up by giving you advice, telling you how to try to make you feel better about yourself. They always try to make jokes and stuff and crack you up, because Sagittarius is a very humorous sign. Sagittarius moons love humor because it makes them feel good on the inside. That's how they deal with their emotions and stuff. They like to be humorous, and this kind of falls into their optimistic, free-spirited nature in that way. So Moon in Sagittarius is always the type to make jokes, try to be funny. Sometimes their jokes can be a little bit crude and sexual often. In my experience, I've met lots of Sagittarius moons that tend to make very, very, very sexual jokes. And if their Mars is in an air sign, for instance, it might just emphasize it, since Mars is the planet of sex and whatnot. But in my experience, that tends to happen in Sagittarius. Their jokes can also be very offensive at times. They can come across as very, very insensitive and blunt, because when they feel things, they're opposite of Gemini. They tend to be very verbal about things, since both signs tend to deal with communication. Gemini, though, is very different about communication than Sagittarius is. So when the Sagittarius feels something, they're not going to really think about tact or anything. They're not tactful signs. They will say what's on their mind, and no matter how blunt they can be, so they can be seen as brutally honest for most people, since that's just how they deal with things. If something pisses them off, they're gonna just come right out and say that it pisses them off, whether or not you want to hear it or not. And this can actually cause a lot of problems for them compared to other signs, because, for example, if your moon is in a water sign, you're going to be very sensitive to how people communicate and stuff when it comes to emotional matters. So the way somebody says something when you're getting all emotional about it can actually ignite this sort of fight or whatever between you and a Sagittarius moon, because the Sagittarius moon doesn't really give a shit how they're coming across. They're just saying it. It's just coming out of them, because that's how they deal with it. And so, like I said, they can come across as insensitive. They can come across as blunt. They tend to be seen, because they're always trying to deal with the bright side of things. They don't like getting stuck in down in the dumps in the sort of negative area. So often something that you'll hear is that they'll often talk about how you shouldn't be dealing with that. If they give you advice, you're you don't need to worry about that. That's stupid. Don't worry about that. Just stop. Don't let it bother you. That's something that a Sagittarius moon probably will say a lot when they're giving you advice. They'll tell you to not let it bother you, because to them, they don't like getting caught up in minute stuff. This might be contrasted to them sometimes, because they sometimes, ironically, can get easily caught up in minute stuff, especially have Virgo placements, which tend to be very detail-oriented. So Moon in Sagittarius doesn't typically like that, because they feel like it's unnecessary. It's just getting in the way. It's dumb. Why are they wasting their time getting upset over these little things that they think are minute when they could be going out doing other things that are more interesting to them. So often they're going to be the type of person that's going to tell you not to worry about those minute things, to not like let them bother you, just like forget about them, don't bother you, and that's kind of how they deal with stuff. Sagittarius moons tend to not really be that forefront with like certain emotions like sadness and stuff. If they are, it's probably because something really bothers them. But in my experience, a lot of Sagittarius moons don't really like let that sort of thing show. Like, they tend to be very emotionally happy and high-spirited and stuff, which is why they don't like showing people that they're sad. It's kind of like Moon and Scorpio in a little bit, but it's different because with Moon and Scorpio, it's about being, like, guarded and not being vulnerable. With Moon and Sagittarius, they just don't like showing that sort of side to people. Who's Moon and Sagittarius, they think that, being sad and upset and not being happy is actually bringing other people down. I've actually been told a lot by Sagittarius moons that that certain people that are like really negative need to like stop being negative because their energy affects the people around them. And to a lot of people, this can come across as shallow because Sagittarius moons like aren't the type of person like to get caught up in negative stuff like that. And people who tend to have a lot more emotional depth or whatever, as they see it, tend to focus a lot more on the negatives because they're trying to understand it. And because of that, Sagittarius moons get coined as being shallow, but the truth of the matter is that they just don't like meddling into negative stuff. You have to understand that Sagittarius is a very, very positive sign. Of course, like if you're meeting a Sag sun with a Scorpio moon, that's way different than a Sag sun with like a Sag moon. Like Sag moon is very happy and high-spirited, as I said. So while to others their like approach to things might be considered shallow, to them it's like trying to keep up the mood. They always want to keep other people happy. They feel like it's their responsibility. They feel like that they have to be the ones that keep everybody else happy and upbeat and everything because they don't like it when they're happy, and because they really, and like I don't mean like they just don't like it, they really fucking don't like it when they're happy. So they tend to like try to cheer other people up. Sometimes the way they do can be a little obnoxious, but you have to understand that they're also a fire sign. You're not going to be like an air sign that's like real like diplomatic and concerned with communication. They're just going to come out and say and do it because they feel like that's what they have to do. Sagittarius moons are known for well known for being advice givers, but because it's Sagittarius, they tend to get very easily philosophical about the advice that they decide to give. So like when they're giving you advice and stuff, it can come across as being just like sort of this philosophical like tinge that they add to it. Like you can tell, like it kind of feels like an old man sitting back in his rocking chair telling you back in my day, like that sort of thing. That to me like represents Sag moon, because that's the kind of vibe I always pick up when I'm talking to Sag moons. And by this, I'm not necessarily saying that they're wise, because there's a ton of Sag moons there that are actually really immature, but for the most part, that's like the kind of vibe they can sometimes be giving off when they're giving you advice. Their advice is also coupled with that sort of optimistic nature, so because of this, they can tend to be prone to giving you unsolicited advice, which can be a little offensive at times, because there's sometimes people take that as extremely rude. Like, why, like, they, like, being given advice when you didn't ask for it, it can sometimes be taken as really, really rude by some people, and so they can tend to unintentionally cause a lot of problems. But if you're dealing with a Sag moon, and this is something that you're dealing with, you can try to either understand that maybe that it's because they're trying to help you, they're trying to give you the best, and their intentions are in the right place, but they may not always know how to do it necessarily. Sagittarius moons also or the type of people that I've noticed that are actually quite fascinated with like history and like culture and peoples and stuff like that. I'm not saying that having a Sag moon makes you a people person, that you love hanging out with people, because I know lots of Sagittarius moons that don't like hanging out with people, are quite introverted, don't like being bothered, like to have their own time and whatnot. It's not really like that they hate people, they just don't like being constantly bothered by people. What I mean by them liking people and cultures and stuff is that they're fascinated by their way of living. They want to understand more. They like to travel around the world. They're like adventurists at heart, because Sagittarius rules higher learning. It's the sign that always wants to learn more about the world. They're fascinated with history. They tend to be fascinated with people and their cultures, like I said. They're Sagittarius sometimes is a sign associated with a religion. A lot of people that I know that have a lot of strong Sagittarius, including Sag moons, tend to be strongly interested in Christianity and religion and stuff. I'm not saying that having a Sag moon makes you into Christianity, because there's also Sag moons I've known that don't really care about that, but they also are interested in stuff. Sagittarius moons tend to be the type, like I said, they're that adventurous type of person. They love traveling. They are, they're very, where should I go with this? Sag moons. Like, for example, my dad's a Sag moon. He'll, if he's not watching sports, which is what he watches, he usually turns on the History Channel, which is another thing about Sag moons. They love talking about these things to people. Sagittarius loves learning about new stuff, and the things that they've learned are very quick to share it with you and tell you all about it. Like, moons I've known, they'll like randomly come up to you, be like, hey, you should like totally check this out, because I totally went on this whole new trip and it's like completely blew my mind and I learned so much about it. I really think that you should do it, because there's just so much to learn and it's completely fascinating. That's like how Sag moons are. Many Sagittarius moons that I've seen tend to be very like this. They're always the type of person that's like, you should totally try this out, because they've done it, they learned a lot from it, they think that you should try it, and that's how they tend to be. So, basically, to sum this video up, Sagittarius moons tend to be very optimistic. They tend to be very on the high side of things. They don't like getting down into the negative. Sometimes they can be seen as insensitive and blunt, because they try to like, when they feel like they need to, when they're feeling something, they tend to be the type of person that can say it without really giving a crap. So, and I don't really care about how it's received, they're just saying it. That's why they can come across as blunt or brutally honest. Sagittarius moons can be, like I said, they sometimes can be seen as shallow, because they choose not to like go into the negative side of things, because they don't like that. But it's really just that I'm trying to like keep people happy. They can also try to do this with others. They're always going to try to cheer you up and be humorous. They love humor. They're always trying to cheer you up. They're always trying to give you advice and help you out. Always trying to tell you what, like, help you out in that sort of way. It can sometimes come across as them trying to tell you what you should be doing, and that can be a little bit offensive, but you have to understand that their mutable fire nature in the sign, is good. They're not the type of people that like to hold on to grudges. They think grudges are messy. Grudges are dumb. They don't like that unless they have like prominent like water sign placements. Like if they're a Sag moon with like a Cancer Mars, maybe that might function differently. I can't really say. Generally, Sagittarius moon is not a grudge holder. They think it's stupid. They're the type of person that just wants to forget about stupid crap that happened in the past and move on. If you resolve a conflict with them, they're not going to hold anything against you. They need someone that can just like keep up with them. Someone who's like, since they tend to have the inner need to get like verbally argumentative about things, they need somebody who can keep up with them and keep up with their highs and lows without necessarily just holding a grudge and getting all emotionally bent over it and stuff. Somebody that was just like onto one thing, onto the next, that sort of thing. So, like, I think other fire moon signs tend to be good for Sagittarius moons. And, this sums up my Moon in Sagittarius video. I hope you enjoyed it. and if it resonated for you, great. If you liked this video, like it. If you want to see more, check out my channel, whatever. Not necessarily saying you have to. I'm just saying do it if you want. And I'll be back later, so thanks for watching.